The Supreme Court has agreed to hear a case challenging a Colorado law that bans conversion therapy for minors struggling with gender identity. This case comes as President Trump moves to ban federal funds for hormones and gender surgeries for children.
Advocates for this lucrative field of medicine are fighting back as Trump's actions could mark the beginning of the end for the country's transgender movement. Heather Sells explains.
Just days after the president issued his executive order, trans activists hit the streets of New York in a panic. Analyst Mary Rice Hassan says that's because the Protecting Children from Chemical and Surgical Mutilation order comes with powerful strings attached.
Principally, it's the power of federal funding, saying that organizations, whether it's a hospital, a medical practice, anyone who is taking federal funds, they are now going to feel the squeeze because their institution is going to risk losing federal funds if they choose to continue with these procedures.
It comes down to Trump versus a highly profitable industry. Attorney Sarah Parshall Perry at the Heritage Foundation estimates doctors typically pocket $8,000 for each pediatric gender surgery.
There are 1,100 clinics and hospitals coast to coast that perform these procedures, and now they're going to have to think long and hard to see whether or not this will be continuously profitable for them to do so.
I was given puberty blockers and testosterone at 13 and had a double mastectomy at 15 years old.
Chloe Cole is one of the most outspoken detransitioners. Now at age 20, she believes Trump's actions mark the beginning of the end for the country's transgender movement. She's also warning, along with other advocates, of the fight before them.
We need to remember also that the left has spent decades building and establishing the current ideology. They're not going to vanish overnight.
Some hospitals have paused these procedures as multiple legal challenges are underway, including one by 18 state attorneys general. It argues that the federal order conflicts with state laws that guarantee access to these treatments. Perry maintains that the order falls within the scope of the president's authority, though she admits that taking down the industry will involve more than just cutting federal money.
I do think it's going to take medical malpractice on a grand scale.
Lawsuits like the one Cole has filed against healthcare giant Kaiser Permanente.
Those of us who have detransitioned need to continue to file lawsuits to hold our doctors accountable.
Hassan says what could help those lawsuits is a federal law expanding the statute of limitations so that young adults can have time to process their trauma and come forward. The medical advocacy group Do No Harm notes one prominent group, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, has expressed doubts about the effectiveness of trans surgeries for kids. Still, Do No Harm says the public should not ignore the pain that gender confusion can cause.
We understand that these children are really suffering, whether that be with anxiety, depression, autism. These children need care. They need compassionate care from mental health professionals that are free to work in a reality basis.
Heather Sells, CBN News.
Well, there's a study out of Great Britain that showed that even after the surgeries, the mental health issues, the depression, the anxiety, all of those things didn't change, that it wasn't effective to solve that issue. It just makes no sense to me to have children go through these procedures. If you're an adult and you're making that decision for yourself, and this is what you want to do, and you're willing to pay for it, then okay. But to require this to happen to children, it just literally, it makes no sense to me. We'll see how the Supreme Court rules, and we'll bring you that story when it comes.